The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized for 3 minutes.
I appreciate the gentleman for yielding. I want to shed a little light on what's been discussed on the floor tonight, Mr. Chairman. We're hearing a lot of conversation about Medicare. We have to be clear that in Obamacare, this was the largest health care reform bill this country has ever seen. It's going to spend $2 trillion of deficit spending over the next 10 years. And with that massive new health care reform bill, guess what? Medicare is going broke in 10 to 12 years. So with this great health care reform, they didn't have enough foresight to save our seniors' Medicare program. The program they've actually paid for over the course of their lifetime. I think our seniors deserve better than what they've received in Obamacare. We hear a lot about what we've done with the $716 billion in Obamacare. Let's be clear between the two plans. My friends across the aisle want to take $716 billion of savings from Medicare, take that money out, and use it for a different set of people in Obamacare, using it for people who didn't pay for the program. On our side of the aisle, we want to take that savings and use it for our seniors. It's their money. They deserve to get it, and we use it to shore up the program. This makes sense. You talk about facts and numbers. Think back to what the president told us with Obamacare. He said, listen, you're going to see your health care costs go down by $2,500 a year per family of four. The truth? What happened? Health care costs went up by $3,000 a year for a family of four. That's a $5,500 turnaround for a family of four in this health care reform bill. Listen, that's a lot of money for hard-working American families. Let's talk about what else has been discussed by my friends across the aisle. If you recall the stimulus bill, $1 trillion of spending. Remember, we were supposed to spend $1 trillion and get an unemployment rate by 2013 of 5.2%. Well, the reality is we're sitting at 7.7%, but if you add back in everyone who stopped looking for work because they can't find it, because this has been one of the longest and lamest recoveries since the Great Depression, it's actually up at 10%. Listen, these policies and these promises haven't worked for the American people. Let's talk about taxes. We have a plan that'll reform the tax code. It'll make it fairer, flatter, simpler, easier to use, and we root out the loopholes, take away the preferences, the exemptions. We get away from crony capitalism, a fair code. You have a chance to vote for that kind of tax reform in our budget. But let's compare that to what my friends across the aisle propose. Well, $1 trillion in tax increases in Obamacare, $600 billion of tax increases in the fiscal cliff, and another $1.2 trillion. 2 minutes.
I'll yield an additional 2 minutes.
Gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized for additional 2 minutes.
Another $1.2 trillion in this new proposal for a total of $2.8 trillion of new taxes. Listen, we've seen this before. This is tax and spend liberalism at its finest. And listen, I think the American people understand what's happened in this very slow recovery. This is a chart the chairman showed earlier, but you see the growth rate in the red line of what we've seen in this recovery, and you see the average growth rate of other recoveries from other recessions. And the difference is 4 million jobs between this recovery and the average recovery. Well, that's 4 million families that don't have work, that aren't paying for food on the table and a roof over their head. These are real people, real families in places like central and northern Wisconsin that have been impacted by this economy. As Chairman Ryan talks about, we have a choice of two futures. And my Democrat colleagues across the aisle want this massive debt and deficit to be our future for our children. We think there's a better way. We look at being responsible and paying off our debt in a way that's going to work for not just this generation, but future generations. What are we doing? We owe $17 trillion in debt. We borrow $1 trillion every year, and there's no end in sight. And we're printing money to buy our debt. And you say, keep going, keep printing, keep borrowing, keep spending. This is going to end well, you tell us, or you tell our American families. Give me an example of where printing, borrowing, and spending ends in economic growth, prosperity, wealth, or sustainable jobs. Let's go back to fiscal responsibility. Let's live within our means in this country, pay down our debt, do what's responsible, and leave our children a brighter future. I yield back.